So guys, I went on autopilot this morning. I got up for work and as I normally do, after I can get into the kitchen before work, I put all my lunch into my bag and when it got to break time today, I brought out my container for my apples. I was faced by something I did not expect. The horror that I saw was not my apples.
Was it lasagna?
I saw last night's meat instead.
What?
So the meat we had last night and my apples were in the same type of container and they're both in the fridge. So I just picked it out thinking it was my apples and I got onto my break and I went, what the fuck?
Ooh, spooky meat.
I know, so scary. This is
Big
a
on
great start.
I'm disappointed you didn't open with boo guys instead of so guys. 'Cause, you know, Halloween and shit.
Oh, yeah.
The dad jokes have already started.
Yeah, sorry. No, I'm not. That's what I do.
Well, I've got a spooky story for you as well, Dan. Well, for all the listeners, everyone else here already knows this, but I've tested positive for COVID for the second time now. And in terms of spookiness, it's just, again, it's just the whole experience. It's like completely different to when I first had it. So like the first time I had it, we were doing the podcast back when I first tested positive, didn't we?
You were.
Yeah, we were, because it was only like just before Christmas last year. So the first time I lost my sense of smell and taste, which is really disturbing. But this time around, the scary thing is, it's technically, obviously, this isn't really like drama or anything, but it's just legally, not being able, like, not having to isolate, like if you're like COVID positive. It's just like, it could be kind of spooky because obviously, like Chris and I, we both work in a university, and it's just that knowledge of, okay, yeah, we're all used to freshers flu, we've been used to that for God knows how long, but now it's just like, now that everything's face to face, it's just like, this is no longer freshers flu, it's literally freshers SARS or whatever you want to call it. It's just kind of bonkers to think that, really.
To be fair, I try and stay away from the students as much as possible. And I work in close contact with them.
Yeah, because unfortunately for my job role, I can't really avoid it. I've got no choice but to be somewhat face to face with students.
I'll just try and rugby tackle them.
The horror of students existing. Is that it, Chris?
Well, yeah, they're a nightmare when you got to work with them. And hundreds of the bastards every day.
Yeah, they're good when you don't have to see them.
Yeah, but unfortunately I do. But I must bear in mind that I was a student once.
Yeah, so am I, and I currently am again. Because, again, for another spooky thing, I'm doing a PhD, and that is very, very spooky. Because I've been off with COVID, I've missed a week of studies or whatnot. And it's just like, it's not like school where, if you miss like a week off, you catch up with studies. When you're doing a PhD or masters or whatever, you have to catch up in your own time. Like, no one's going to tell you what you've missed. You've got to make up what you've missed by yourself. And having like COVID brains afterwards, I don't even know what I'm doing half the time. I don't even know what I'm doing half the time in the best of times. Like, if I order half a roast chicken, I don't know how the fuck I ended up with that. I forget halfway through a sentence we've started speaking about Skull and Bones. I'm just like, oh yeah, that's a good game coming out. And you're like, we literally just spoke about that, Brandon. So you can just imagine just how chaotic I am right now with COVID brain. I've missed a week off work. I don't know where I am. I don't know what I'm doing. And I literally feel like I need to be in a care home.
Old man Brandon.
Give it a few years, mate. Give it a few years.
I'm not even 30 yet. I'm breaking down.
It only gets worse, mate. It only gets worse.
Yeah.
Anyway, you'll be lucky to go in a home. They're bloody expensive. We're just going to leave it to the curbside.
I think like for my nan, I think what she has to pay is I think nearly £1,000 a week to be in a care home, and that covers like the 24-hour access to care, food, bills, and everything like that. I'm just like, fucking hell.
I think we can all agree that the scariest thing out there is just the cost of living.
Just age and the cost of living. Oh, that's very topical. Welcome to the Victory Chief podcast.
Halloween special!
Where we talk about politics.
Woo!
Cost of living. Oh, no.
Actually,
bills. The horror of bills.
I was gonna say, just on the topic of the cost of living, when we went out shopping today, just to get like bits cause like we went out shopping to buy like a Halloween tree and some Halloween decorations. We were walking to B&M to go, see if they've got any Halloween decorations, and you see like just several people walking away with just electric heaters, and I'm just like, the fuck? Is there like something I've just missed? Is like electric heaters in demand? Like, is everyone just not going to use their gas and just resort to electricity? Like,
is expensive.
Is that the real scary thing? The fact that we're going to have 3 hour blackouts between the hours of 4 o'clock in the afternoon to 7 o'clock in the afternoon, which to me is a good thing, because that usually correlates in time with like EastEnders and Coronation Street. So that doesn't affect me whatsoever.
Well, if we do have rolling blackouts, well, we'll know in a couple of weeks. And if you're listening to this podcast and it suddenly cuts out, that's probably the reason.
Yeah, you just had to cut out your area.
Yeah. So at least you'll get to miss my dad jokes. So there's some saving graces.
I hope we cut out at the right times.
Yeah.
Yeah. All good.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, boy.
Yeah, rude boy.
Give your knees a nice rub.
You sounded Russian just there. Gives you your knees a nice rub.
Ainsley Harriet's Russian now. Anna.
Everybody's listening.
Yeah, boy.
In Soviet Russia, Ainsley Harriet rubs you.
Welcome, ghouls, ghosts, and vampires, and witches as well, to Victory Achieve Podcast, a video game podcast. It is our Halloween special. Our second one is episode 38, and I'm Dan, and I'm with, you know who they are, Brandon and Chris.
I'm infected.
Not infected, but oh god, the zombie outbreak started already. Halloween, everyone! Woo!
This is how Resident Evil starts, bitches.
I hope this is not my blood.
So we've got a little bit of a spooky episode lined up again, just like last year, haven't we?
We certainly do.
Where
And it's
we're
going to
gonna
be
be delving
terrifying.
Yeah,
Because I'm going to be trying to tell jokes, and that's the worst thing possible.
delving into the worlds of horror, Chris's dad jokes, and any other spooky TV series, games, and movies we've all seen up until this point.
I'm trying to remember what we spoke about last year. I was like, what are we...
You know what? I did actually go back to listen to it to sort of refresh myself. I was like, did I talk about these things? Because I can't bloody remember.
Oh, I must have not. I didn't put
either.
any of like, I just put like, it's a horror episode and that was it. Because I think it was a bit more generalised. Whereas today we actually have proper topics. I think last time was like, let's talk about random horror films and all random stuff like random horror games. Whereas this time it's a bit like, let's talk about Werewolf by Night, Chris.
Yes, I do like. We're a bit more sophisticated this time around, aren't we? We actually list what we talk about, which just makes looking out for our future episodes and topics that much easier. Can we talk about this? Oh yes, we did it. Did we talk about For the Dark Well, Brendan? Can you remember?
Did we talk about Skull and Bones?
Did we talk about Skyward Sword? Oh wait, I don't know.
That one, rings a faint bell.
Oh yeah, but the latest, one of the latest Marvel Disney Plus TV show. Well, I wouldn't say TV shows. It's more like a glorified
Special.
Yeah, special.
It's a Halloween special.
Yeah.
They're trying to rip us off. They're ripping us off. They saw a Halloween special last year and they thought, want some of that. And yeah, we have Werewolf by Night now.
Werewolf by Night, based on the character Werewolf by Night. I know, spooky that.
And I ruined convention by watching it during the day.
You're not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie. I did the exact same.
Yeah. Well, that's the free time I had.
I got up. I woke up. I think it was a Saturday morning. I woke up and I went, right, Werewolf by Night. I was gonna watch it the night before, and I think I procrastinated and wasted all my time, and then I was like, bedtime. So
yeah. Well, we don't want the werewolves attacking us when we're trying to watch it. So if we watch it during the day, we'll just be attacked by men who are normally werewolves. It's the opposite. That didn't work, did it?
No.
Fuck it. Moving on.
So Werewolf by Night is like it's just like a Marvel horror special. All set in the MCU with I can't remember what his name is, but who is Werewolf by Night. I quite liked it as a special. It was quite fun. It was all in black and white, except for the jewel, which is that they're trying to all get, which is in red. But it was quite cool to see it all in like black and white and that.
Yes, it's very Sin City and Hammer horror-ish.
Yeah, it definitely went with the vibe. I thought it was just like for like some of the stuff that had come out on Disney Plus for Marvel. This was one of the better ones, but then at the same time, I think the Disney Plus stuff for Marvel has been a bit hit and miss. But I quite as a one-off thing, I thought Werewolf by Night was quite fun.
I think it was pretty ballsy of them to sort of do what they did. Like, don't pad it out into like a full film. It's like they've got enough material for 50 minutes, and there was no fat to this. It was,
no.
It was lean, straight to the point.
Yeah.
Didn't get boring. It's what you want from just like one standard good episode of like just 50 minutes of here's your setup, here's the action, here's your climax, here's the end.
And the climax was fairly decent. I guess there were a few things I was a bit like, but I think that's just standard action things where it's like, if it was me being like that person, you would just attack like this, and then it's just like, well, it's for shows, they prolong the action out and all that. So
I have one minor critique with it, but I think it's more of a personal thing, and that's I actually didn't really care for the werewolf design all that much. Not like the effects, it's just the actual look of it.
To be honest, I thought it was a little bit underwhelming, but
yeah,
I more liked, was it Trevor?
Oh yes, Trevor. Trevor's great.
Trevor's great.
Oh, I want more Trevor. I want him to show up in more MCU stuff.
Trevor.
It leads to the question though. Do you reckon he's going to appear more, or whether it's just going to stick to the one special? Because I'm struggling to think how this could tie in with like anything else, especially if it's keeping like the black and white aesthetic. You think it's just going to be a one and done?
I think it's
self-contained.
I think it's going to be one and done. But
yeah,
you know, look at what they're doing with Daredevil. They brought him back for like, obviously it reappears in She-Hulk. Spoilers but by the time this is out, She-Hulk will have been finished for 3 weeks anyway. So
yeah, I'm going to go more in depth next episode.
Yeah, and you know, like I said, look what they're doing with Daredevil, bringing him back into the MCU. There's rumours for some of the other Netflix characters, so you know, there's potential to bring Werewolf by Night, I guess. But I don't know. I thought it was a fun 50-minute watch. I have fun, and if there's no more, there's no more. If there is, there is. I wouldn't. Not going to complain either way.
And because it's only 50 minutes, even if you didn't think it was that great, it's not like you've wasted like time watching a whole movie.
True, yeah, but I like I said, I like the vibe it was going for with the black and white, and definitely had like was it like 40s, 50s horror film vibe going for it.
Yeah, it's all very well done. I seen chap I watched, Chris Stuckman. They on YouTube. They went to like a private screen of it because they showed it at a convention, and everyone was a bit weirded out because normally you'd see like a horror film, and instead it was announced they were going to see Werewolf by Night instead. So people were like a bit underwhelmed. But then they watched it, and once it wrapped up, it's like, no, I think that was worth it. That was pretty good.
Like I say, it's a horror film. Like, it has some horror bits, but it's not like really scary. It really isn't. It was just felt like a Marvel stuff, but just with some horror elements. But it wasn't massively horror.
No, I think it's a little bit more violent. But
oh yeah, definitely.
Not overly so. It's not going to make you squeamish or anything.
No, I had a good time with it, but if there's more.
Yeah, definitely.
There's more. If there's not, there's not.
We'll see.
Well, we'll see. But you know, as there was a bit of a, like, the main characters in that, they were a bit of a cult. There's a game that's a bit of a cult, isn't there, Brandon?
Yeah, Cult of the Lamb, which, you know, I'm kind of late to the party for playing this because it sort of exploded like a few months ago.
Yeah, I was going to say, but, you know.
It's a shame that I didn't pick it up when it was hot, because I think, you know, it would have been really good for me growing on Twitch, but I picked it up nonetheless because I thought it looked interesting to play. So I thought, okay, I played Binding of Isaac, really enjoyed that. So I thought, fuck it, let's get Cult of the Lamb, you know. It's bragged as a roguelike game, so I thought, yeah, you know, I'll give it a go. And my god, is it amazing. So I say it is literally a roguelike. It plays as a roguelike. You go through like a randomly generated dungeon with floors and stuff, with boss fights at the end and loot and stuff to get. But it has also this sort of a world building aspect where you do your roguelike and you collect resources, and you then go back to where your cult is, where as you explore, you might randomly find like an NPC. You can recruit this NPC to become a part of your cult, and you take them back. And then basically you can give them orders. They can go woodcutting, mining. They can do your farming for you. They can do some praying for you. And they can also age. And honestly, I've never laughed so much playing a game. It's a horror game because it's very gory and whatnot. But there was a particular moment, which I'm going to write down as one of my favorite ever moments in video game history. I was there looking after my cult, and because one thing which Cult of the Lamb has, it's got what's called Twitch integration. So your viewers can basically use their channel points to increase the level of your cult. And what they can do, they can also use channel points to influence what happens in your dungeon. So say, for example, or crusade rather, so if you go to like a certain floor of the crusade, there'll be a room where your viewers can use their channel points that they've accrued to be able to detect a new rule. So for example, one of the rules one of my viewers did was, every time I attack, acid will drop on the floor. So I'm like, you fuckers, I've got a melee weapon, so every time I use melee, I'm going to like get damage. So that was quite fun. But as I said, so the moment which I'm going to remember forever is I have one of my viewers called Suspicious Iguana. He made obviously his character, and all the other characters would be like, sorry sir, I don't suppose you can give me, can you bake me some, a fruit of salad? Like, can I have a salad, your lordship? And I was like, yeah, sure, I can make you a salad. So I made him a salad and they were all happy. Then I went on my crusade. I come back and then Suspicious Iguana's character comes up and he starts asking me for stuff. He's like, I'm sorry, your lord, but I'm a bit self-conscious saying this and I don't want you to think any different of me, but can you make me a poo pie, please? And I was just like, you fucking what? You want to literally make you a pie made of shit? And he was like, yes, if it's not too much to ask for, I would really like to have a poo pie. And then my viewer was just like, just kill him, sacrifice him to the cult, just get rid of him. I think he's broken. So I literally go off and literally make him a shit pie and then give it to him. And he's just so happy to eat this pie. He's like, oh my God, you are the best person in the world. I will eat this pie in your name. And the description of the pie says, it may make you sick. So and then as the character then starts to eat this shit pie, he then gets food poisoning and then has to run off and puke and shit everywhere and then gets ill. And I'm just like, no wonder you're fucking ill. You just had a pie made of shit. So you've got to look after your cult members. You've got to feed them. You have to make sure they're free of sicknesses. So if they shit somewhere, you have to clean up their shit. If they're sick somewhere, you need to clean it up. If there is an infection going around, you need to try and cure them all. Basically, the whole concept is to basically build this big cults, and then you can use what they do for praying to give you new skills and stuff and unlock new things when you go on a crusade and stuff. So it's very, very fun, graphically very beautiful. Plays a lot different to Binding of Isaac because it's more of a move and click. So rather than like Binding of Isaac where you've got like a default, time period, or to put it another way, like in Vampire Survivors, your character attacks by default, don't they?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas in 20 minutes till dawn, you've got to physically click to do your action, haven't you?
Yeah.
It's the same. That's the same difference between the Binding of Isaac and Cult of the Lamb. So Binding of Isaac, you have a default attack.
Then you like press the space bar and you attack or something like that.
Yeah, so it's smooth like that. Whereas for Cult of the Lamb, you've got to physically click almost like a direction of where you want to attack, and you've also got like the Dark Souls dodge mechanic in there to get invincibility frames. It's a really, really cool game. I wish I picked up when it was on offer because it is, it was about 20. I think I paid nearly £20 for it. I think maybe slightly less, but it is. I've not even got very far in it, but it is a very, very fun game to play. If you really like roguelikes and you really like, this cute horror aspect and stuff, it is a fantastic game. Like, it's saying stuff when Binding of Isaac was touted as like a really good roguelike and sort of set the bar for it. But I think Cult of the Lamb has just smashed it. They've done an amazing job on it. Like, I'm still yet to get further in it, so I'd like to see like where the story takes it. But the voice acting in it is quite precious and cute at the same time. So yeah, highly recommend Cult of the Lamb if anyone wants to give that a go.
I've heard good things about Cult of the Lamb. Yeah, it's definitely, I don't know if it's probably something I'm going to check out, but it's definitely, like as you say, done the rounds a couple months ago when it came out.
Yeah, it feels like it's been one of these games which, when it came out, it sort of exploded, but then I don't really hear about it anymore. Like, it's like Binding of Isaac, when it came out, people were speaking about it for ages. And even now, people still, like every now and then on a forum, you'll see people talk about the Binding of Isaac. I'm not sure if it's because that's one of the sort of first of its kind, in that sort of a cutesy art sort of style. And maintaining the roguelike aspect and the minute storytelling aspect of the journey of Isaac. Whereas Cult of the Lamb feels like it's got more of a story because you've actually got chapters which you have to work through and different 4 different bosses you've got to fight to sort of regain your soul from the devil and whatnot. So I like to see in terms of story, like where it goes and what sort of player mechanics you get to, more within it. Because Binding of Isaac really, it was RNG based. And, Vampire Survivors is extremely RNG related, whereas Cult of the Lamb it feels like it's got more of a skill basis to it, purely because you've got that Dark Souls-y aspect of, dodge rolls and invincibility frames to time.
With, how much have you done of like is it church, more like the village building on Cult of the Lamb? So
in terms of the village building, I've only played for about 3 hours, I'd say. And I've got to the point where I can now sort of make my followers look after the farms themselves. because really early on, it's like, you know, you get followers very, very quickly, and you start to be like, hang on a minute, I've got a real big shortage of food here. So it's just, you know, getting into the habit of, you know, go out on a crusade, quickly trying to get as many resources as you can, and just hope that none of your followers to start dying of starvation and shitting everywhere. So yeah, I'm not, like I said, I'm not too very far in at the moment. I've beaten, you know, maybe 2 of the mini bosses.
Right.
You know, you can sink quite a lot of time in it because it's got that skill aspect to it compared to Binding of Isaac and whatnot. It's going to feel more of a challenge, and obviously all the different weapons have their own sort of pros and cons as well. So it's like, okay, you have to sort of steadily work your way through, see what weapons are good for the roguelike, what weapons are bad for the roguelike. Oh yes, in terms of weapons, you can only sort of carry 2 weapons. You've got your melee weapon and you've got your curse-related weapon. So your curse-related weapons will take up, you know, like the equivalent of mana in the game, where you can kill enemies and they'll drop, you know, the equivalent of mana and whatnot. I can't remember the actual naming of it because it's been about a couple of weeks since I played it. And then you've got your melee weapon, which is, you know, what you point and click to use. And so, you know, you can either use axes, which are slow, you can use swords, which are medium paced, you can use daggers, which are rapid paced but really short range and whatnot. Some of the curses, like the art style of the curses, are so cool. So like some of them seem really, really broken, like, you know, like broken in the terms of like you pick them up using them, and you're just like, wow, this is like the equivalent of like Eldritch Blast from, you know, like Dungeons and Dragons, because it just looks so cool and does so much cool things. Yeah, so as I said, overall I've still got to start trying to sink more into it just to see where it goes. But even though I'm 3 hours into it, I had a blast of a time. Like the fact that you've got Twitch integration with it, and you can get your viewers to influence what happens in the game is really, really clever.
Yeah, I don't know. It definitely does like interest me, but I think yeah. Yeah.
How much is at the moment on Steam? Let's have a quick look, because like I said, it's one of those games where I wish I picked up when it was in the hype, because I don't know if it would have been on offer. Because it's just, I'm not sure if it's just me being stingy. So Cult of the Lamb at the moment is going for £19.50 as of the time of recording, and that's no offers at the moment.
I think it might be on Game Pass. Was it on Game Pass? I don't.
Chris, is it on Game Pass?
You know what? I've not looked because I've got to be honest. From what I've seen, nothing. It didn't really interest me because I'm not that bothered about like village building.
Cult of the Lamb is not on Game Pass according to this blog post.
No, I don't think I've seen it because I probably might have got it if it was there just out of curiosity. But yeah, I like games like Binding of Isaac, but I don't tend to play them very long, so I don't think it's got that much of a shelf life for me. Or maybe I'm just feeling a bit sheepish about it.
Are you taking smacks at my sheep cult?
What did you just call me? No, you know what, Brandon? I was trying to scorn you.
Scorn me?
Yes.
Yeah, Scorn.
Yes. All right. Segue. I played a
I heard
horror
that
game.
went so over Brandon's head, and then I was like, "Oh, here we go. Here's how I'm going into the next bit."
So yes, I played a horror game which only came out a couple of days ago at the time of recording this. So it's very, very new. So yes, I played the game called Scorn. If you haven't seen this, it's one I've had my eye on for a little while because I seen like early photos of it and thought, wow, that looks really good. And to be fair to the game, it looks really good. Art style is like H.R. Geiger, and is it like Swedish artist? I'm going to butcher this. Bisinski, I believe, say you pronounce his name. Think like Gothic horror. Think Alien. That kind of art style. It's a cold, horrible world where everything hurts you. Everything wants you dead, like by design. It's like it's just a wasteland of horror and like biomechanical death everywhere. It's not the nicest place to go to. It's like going to Leicester. It's not bad. Right, so Scorn. Now, when I first seen images of this, I thought this looks like it might be either like first-person Resident Evil or maybe Doom, because it looks like a sort of first-person sort of shooter, like survival horror.
Clocked on to what this is. I have seen gameplay of this quite a while ago, and it looked really fascinating.
Yes, it did. Unfortunately, throughout my playthrough, I think the visuals are the only thing it's really got going for it.
Yeah, so that's what I thought as well.
Hear me out, because I think a lot of people feel the same way about this. So there's a lot of bad points. It does have its shining moments, but few and far between. You said Call to the Lamb was £19, right?
Yeah, I've just seen the price for Scorn.
Yeah, it's practically double the price.
It's 32 quid, not on offer.
Yeah, not on offer. And it's only like 4 to 5 hours long. It's aggressively linear.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yes, it is. And how it plays, it's kind of like... People have been comparing it to the old game Myst, if you've ever played that. Because it's basically... it's part walking simulator, part puzzles, and then...
part first-person shooter at times.
Yeah, but even that doesn't feel like first-person shooting. It's hard to explain. It feels like the shooting is in itself a puzzle. Because how it's peppered, like you got like you walk for a bit, you do a puzzle, and you don't get like your first combat scenario for like an hour in before you even get a weapon. Of which there's only a couple of weapons in the entire game. And how it works is you have very limited ammo. And it becomes more of a puzzle in trying to work out what's the best way to approach the enemy. Like, do you have to take this one down, or can you sort of sneak around it? Or there's certain enemies who are, and you've got such short supply of ammo that you have to take out like one enemy using one weapon and another enemy using another weapon. So, as I say, it feels like a puzzle in itself. You do have healing, and as I say, you do have ammo. And how this works is there are like a couple of like rooms that you go into. You can never miss them because they're always on the critical path. Like they're right next to like an item you need to progress. And they're basically like an ammo station and a health station. But they don't give you like full ammo or full health. They'll just give you like a little bit, and you've got to make that last. So every hit you take carries on for like the entire playthrough, essentially, because you've really got to pick and choose. If you get into a combat scenario and get hit like more than once or twice, you may as well just restart the last checkpoint. The difficulty is very high, and there's no option to turn it down or turn it up at all. It's one difficulty, actually a lot. So as I say, the shooting doesn't feel like shooting. It doesn't feel like a first-person shooter. It feels just like you're using another item on something else, essentially. What else? As I say, there's a heavy emphasis on puzzles, but because of the design of the world, because like everything's alien, you don't really know what anything does until you interact with it. And even when you have interacted with it, sometimes just working out what the hell it did is part of the puzzle in of itself. You're going to go, I see, I pressed this switch, and when I say switch, I mean I put my hand into something. I got damaged by it, and that seems to have opened up a flesh gate somewhere. There's also parts of the game where you take force damage, and I really didn't like this.
What?
It is a very strange thing.
Yeah, it's like you're going from like transitioning from one area to another, and then there'll be like a sort of brief in-game cutscene, and you just take damage. So I don't know how the hell you would progress if you were like managed to get by a combat scenario with like one hit point left, and then go through that and then force to take damage. Yeah, I don't know if they would actually kill you outright, and that would just be game over. I never had that, thankfully, but when I did die and had to like redo these sections, I kept like mashing every button, just going, surely there's some way I can do this. Is this like a quick time event or something? Am I missing something? But nope, no, you just take damage. That's that. Which brings me on to another point. The checkpoint system is harsh because it's like you're wandering around in like certain areas. I don't know when the checkpoints kick in. There's no indication. There's like no autosave functionality comes in. So sometimes when I died, I didn't go back too far, and I was like, okay, that's fine. There's only like a minute lost. And then another time I died, I went back like 15 minutes. I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. I've got to do this, this, and this. It's like, oh, no. So, yeah, frustrating, I think is the word to use. Like when you think you've made progress, you think, well, surely I must have a checkpoint because I've done this puzzle, I've opened this door, I've used these items. Nope, fuck you. Go back. So yeah, it's beauty that's only skin deep, really. It looks really good, but I didn't really like any of the mechanics in it. Everything was just sort of, it's done better. When I was playing it, I just wish I was kind of playing Amnesia instead.
Mm.
Yeah. Because the puzzles in Amnesia do seem a little bit more creative and a bit more intuitive than Scorn.
Oh, definitely, yeah. In fact, the puzzles in Amnesia are pretty much just grab thing, go to door. Just you basically just got to get from A to B without dying.
Mix the potions after reading this letter you found on the table.
Yeah, pretty much. Even the enemies, like I said, it's got combat in it. There's only how many hours? There's like 4 enemies the entire game.
Yeah, flying things, fat things, and other things.
Yeah, and that's it. It's a bit to be desired. When you see like the like monolithic like hellscapes and stuff you're coming to, you think, oh, what wonderful things am I going to have
atmosphere
here?
is amazing in it. Like, it's so cool.
Oh, it really is. I think the best part of it is just the start of it. And I think once you've done like the first big puzzle and start to get combat in it, that's when it goes right downhill. Which you wouldn't think so, because you get like a sort of flesh shotgun and think, how can this go wrong? I don't know if they'll ever rebalance it to make it a bit easier, put a difficulty set. Because as I say, it's very new, so it might get update patches that might implement a better checkpoint system, because that really needs sorting out. It would be a nightmare to stream. Like if I'm doing it in like multiple parts and I said, okay, yeah, I'll end here, and then you boot it back up only to find you've gone back like 15, 20 minutes ago. Oh, I guess we're doing this again. Fucking hell. As I say, it's only like 4 to 5 hours anyway, so maybe it won't be an issue. If you can do it in one sitting if you really wanted to. Bar a couple of the puzzles. But the puzzles themselves are more sort of logic ones, maybe with a bit of trial and error. It's just like alien machinery for the most part, and again, the first hurdle of it is trying to work out what the hell it is and what it does before you even work out the puzzle. Like one of them, like the first one you come into is essentially just a sliding block puzzle. It just doesn't look like one at first. You're just kind of looking at it and thinking, what the hell's this? It's like, what am I trying to do?
I'm reading some of the reviews on Scorn right now on Steam. So all of them are sort of like promoting, like saying the art is good, the art is good. And then there's one comment here which basically just sums up everything you've just said. It says, good art and atmosphere, bad combat and tedious boss fights, basic puzzles, and one meaningless moral choice so you play the beginning over again. 10 years of development for a 4.5 hour game.
Boss fights? There's no plural there needed. What again, it can't, the one that is in it can scarcely be called a boss.
Yeah.
Again, it's just like another puzzle. It's just that the puzzle is combat. And don't get me wrong, I do like puzzles. The actual puzzles themselves aren't bad once you sort of realise what you're doing. Yeah. I mean, sound design's fine. Graphically, it looks fine. There is a story. If you can work it out, then good for you. I kind of get what's going on, but there's no dialogue whatsoever. Cause it's just what's happening on the screen is what's happening. You take it or leave it. If you like Alien and stuff like that, like just the art aesthetic, it's probably worth a playthrough once alone just to see all the, in a nice way, horrific imagery. Because some of it does look stunning. Especially there's a bit later on where there's like essentially murals, and they look really nice. And I was thinking, like, can I like have more game like this? If it was more of a walking simulator, just strip out the combat and just replace it with puzzles instead, I think you would have had a much better game. Just looking around at all the architecture, going bloody hell. But there's no like collectibles or anything to find. It's just A to B. That's it. There's no room you can miss off because you need to do everything. It's not like you're going to miss anything.
Again, I'm just looking through all these reviews, and I'm looking through them, and I'd say like 99% of the reviews have played it for less than 10 hours, and then I randomly come across this one where they've got 50 hours of gameplay in it. I'm just like, what the fuck?
They just leave it on pause overnight.
Yeah, what have you done? Left it on pause for a whole week.
Or they've just stuck on one of the puzzles.
Yeah, probably. But yeah, I'm just literally reading through it. Most of the reviews are less than 10 hours gameplay, and they're all pretty much saying the same thing. Beautiful, but no substance. Beautiful, but nothing. Beautiful, but nothing. That's all it's saying.
Yeah, I think my own personal time took me about 5.5 hours, but that's with dying a few times, so I had to redo sections. So if I did it without dying, I'd probably do it in like 3.5, 4 hours tops. Because once you know the puzzles, that's it, really. You can just go from A to B.
It is a shame, because when I did see the original gameplay for it, like ages ago, graphically it did look so shit. I accidentally played a video of it, but graphically it did look like if they could sort of bring that sort of aspect of Scorn, but give it some sort of gameplay ability like from Returnal, I think that would be good.
Yeah, if they went more balls out with the combat or went more of the puzzles, just one or the other, and just pick one lane and stick with it. It could have been so much better.
They've tried doing a bit of everything. They've tried to make Amnesia: The Dark Descent, but at the same time give it the gruesome aspect of Gears of War, but at the same time they want it to be Resident Evil, but at the same time, there's just too much going on.
I mean, for how the visual design is, for the world design, how beautiful it is in a harrowing way.
Yeah.
As I say, the enemies being really lackluster, like by comparison. It's like, wow, man, if you lean more into combat, it's thinking, just think of all the horrific things you could have come up with to fight, like the amount of imagination you could have thrown in, but it's really lacking.
Like the most boring looking monsters, like just a fleshy chest and with some arms and legs.
Yeah, it's just it's like all the tension goes out the window. It's like, oh no, I don't want to go around that corner. What's waiting for me behind that? It's like the walls are scarier, and then you finally fight something. It's like,
I think even your own weapons have more detail than like the fucking NPCs and everything there, or even like the amount of detail of like plugging stuff into your wrists.
I tell you, the weapons and cutscene do more damage than some of the enemies do. And I'm not joking about that. That's a sad thing. But yeah, when you see like some sort of like headless chicken coming towards you, and you're like, "Are you taking the piss? This is what I'm meant to be. This is what I'm meant to be scared of, is it?" But yeah, no. So yeah, would I recommend Scorn? No. Maybe if you're curious and just want to check out the artwork, go for it. But you probably won't get very far.
But not for £30.
You might just be better off just watching a video of it.
Yeah,
that's what I might do. But obviously, you played a not good, badly developed game. I've been playing a flawed masterpiece that is called Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines. You mentioned, Chris, to download the unofficial patch, which I did.
Yes. Yeah, I was about to say, because everyone who's ever played it, the first thing they ask you is, did you put the patch on?
So I downloaded the patch. So I played this. This is now my third time trying to play this game. So when I originally got my old Steam account, I bought this, and I played it for a couple of hours, and I didn't really know what the hell I was doing. Last time I played it, I played for about 5 hours, and I was basically just following a walkthrough, and I was like, this isn't really that fun. I'm not really doing it on my own. I'm just following a walkthrough, and yeah, whatever. I think I got to the second area. But this time, I've been trying to do it as blind as I can, do it on my own, and I've played like a good 12 hours, I think now. So I'm a bit of the way. I'm now into the second area, but I don't know if you've ever heard about this game, Brandon.
No, I haven't.
So
it's all new to me.
So Vampire the Masquerade Bloodlines is a vampire RPG all set in Los Angeles, and you just become a vampire, and there's like loads of different vampire clans you can pick. The best way I describe it is Vampire Fallout, really. Like the old school, I say old school, but like Fallout 3 and Fallout New Vegas, it's like that, but it's a vampire version of it. And I'm having a really good time so far. I was literally playing it just before we were recording, and I managed to do a couple more side quests that I randomly found. I just went into this hospital. This dude just ran up to me. It was like, whoa! And then I was like, oh, right. And I just managed to do a couple more side quests. But so there's a lot to do and a lot going on. Like, there's a lot of interesting characters and like other things with like the vampire stuff, because you can really it's got like quite a good character creation for like your stats and that. Like, you can really tailor your character to however you want to play. If you want to be like a stealthy vampire, you can do that. If you want to be a very seductive vampire, you can. If you want to be just a brawler, you can do that. If you want to be good with guns, you can do that. So it's very fun and very tailored to how you want to play it. My character is a intimidating and persuasive vampire who's good in melee. But I'm having a good time. Yes, I'm now into the second area. I don't know how long the game is. I think I read it's about 20 hours. So I don't know if I'm halfway or how much. I don't know. I would say I feel like I'm about maybe a quarter or a third of the way. If that's how it feels, I don't know. I still got 2 more areas to get to, so yeah. But it's a game that came out in 2004, I think. So you can tell it's got a bit of age to it. Like
I was wondering why graphically it wasn't making sense, because I was looking at it and I was just like, this doesn't look like a new game. But then I see like screenshots where I'm just like, oh, it looks all right. Then I'm just like, it doesn't look like a new game at the same time. I was getting really confused.
To be fair, the facial animation on the NPCs and your characters is really good for the time. It's like I said, it's very much like Fallout in a lot of ways. Like even like the skills you can do with like hacking computers and lock picking, and it is almost basically like Fallout but with vampires. I don't know. I think ever since like we had Twilight, I think there's always been this weird stigma on vampires, and I think it put like a bad taste in everyone's mouths over vampires. And I think, yeah, fuck Twilight, but there's still so many great vampire media across the whole entire board. This is definitely one of them. It's not perfect. Like I think I've encountered one bug, but I just reloaded my save and it was fine. But I'm having I'm having a lot of fun finally playing this game. It's one of those games that in my mind I'm like, I need to actually play and complete this game, and hopefully I will. I'm having a lot of fun. Like I said, over the weekend I played probably about at least 10 hours. I was meant to go and do a certain thing with some people, and I basically went, no, I'm doing family stuff, and I sat at home and played Vampire the Masquerade. I was doing family stuff, but it was until later. I lied. I'm sorry.
Yeah, nothing to be shameful. I'm literally. I saw this TikTok video. It was just like it was a video saying, "Oh, when you've made plans to go out, but it's steadily getting close to the time you need to leave." It's just this video of this guy getting in bed, getting gradually more and more depressed and anxious, and wanting not to go out. I'm just like, yes, that's now relatable. I don't want to go out and do stuff.
To be fair, the guy who I said I would do his thing. One of the other people that was doing it, I don't like. And that's the actual reason why I backed out. I was like, I'm happy to do this, but if he's included, I'm not doing it. So instead, I sat at home and played Vampire the Masquerade, and I had a great time. It's like you start off in Santa Monica, and then you go to downtown LA, and then you got Hollywood, and then Chinatown, which I've not got to either of those areas yet. You got, like I said, there's a whole load of different vampire clans you can play as. You can play as like some like seductive like vampire clan. You can play as like a more brutal like animal urges, ugly vampire clan. You can play as like, I think the one I'm as, they seem like the most normal. They've got like, they're quite good in like certain vampire magic, but then they can't raise some of their stats to max, but they seem like a good all-round clan. Then you got like another clan that are like really posh, and they look down on others, and they don't like feeding on homeless people around on the streets. Yes, you can basically feed on near enough every character in the game. So there's like, especially in the second area, there's loads of homeless people, so you can feed on them when no one's looking. And if you got with your seduction skills, you can like talk to people in like clubs and just be like, "Oh, I'll give you a kiss," and then next minute you're just sucking their blood. So it's definitely got a good idea of like playing as a vampire, or living as a vampire in this world. Have you played it, Chris?
I've had it in my Steam library for donkey's years, probably for like getting on for a decade now. Yeah. I started playing it. I did about as far as the tutorial, and that's all I ever got. Not because the game was bad. I just at the time just got distracted, and I keep meaning to go back to it. I know it's got a couple of celebrity voices in it, hasn't it? It's got like Ron Perlman, who's like the tutorial guy, isn't he?
Oh, no, not Ron. He's not the tutorial guy, because I was reading something the other day, and it had the actual voice actor for him, so it's not Ron Perlman. He might be in it, but he's not the tutorial guy. I don't know, it might do, but
I'm dismiss my memory.
I'm not sure. I know who you're talking about isn't Ron Perlman. I know that for a fact, but other than that, he might be in it. I have no idea. But
where'd I get that from then?
No.
I think I might be thinking of John DiMaggio. I don't know how the hell I got my brain jumped from Ron Perlman for that.
But no, I'm having a proper good time. Like, as I said, I with it's all like mostly it's all like side quests. You level up, you get experience, and on your skill, you spend skill points to raise your skills, and you know, with that you can do different things. Like, it definitely feels like, if anyone's played Fallout, it just feels like Vampire Fallout, which isn't a bad thing. I'm like I said, I'm having a lot of fun playing it. And apparently there's 5 endings, so that makes it even more interesting. That there's enough replayability, or even with all the different vampire clans, there's so much replayability. I think it definitely has a lot going for it on every person's playstyle, and yeah, it definitely has a lot going for it in that area.
So it's the total opposite to Scorn, then?
Yeah. Funny enough, I was literally while I was looking at Scorn, I went on my, because obviously I don't go on Google on my PC while we're recording, so I went on my phone, and instantly the first thing, because I've been searching, like looking at Vampire the Masquerade stuff, the first news was Vampire the Masquerade, or have you played Vampire the Masquerade? I was like, what is this news article? And I started reading it, and it's just like, it was a woman who wrote the article, and she was like, from rural Leicestershire. I was like, oh wait, what? So she obviously someone from Leicester who just written a news article about playing the game in Leicestershire when she was younger. One thing I do want to mention, which is quite funny, quite convenient, I guess, is it definitely is a bit of a product of its time. And so you start, after the tutorial, you start in your apartment in Santa Monica, and in your apartment in the game, you've got a poster, a band poster, and it's Lacuna Coil, and it's the album with the flower on. I can't remember what it's called. Lines? I don't know if either of you are familiar with Lacuna Coil.
I do know Lacuna Coil from Guitar Hero.
I think I've seen them live, but that was many, many years ago.
I've seen them live, and yes, they are on Guitar Hero. But the album with the flower, I think that came out 2002, so 2 years before the album came out. What's quite funny is Lacuna Coil released something last of time recording, so by the time this comes out, it will be over 2.5 weeks ago when this actually comes out. But with time recording, it was literally last Friday. They released had a new release, and it was literally the 20th anniversary of that album, which they have a poster of it in Vampire the Masquerade. I was like, that's quite funny.
Hold on a minute, I've got a cough coming, so I can't really do anything about this.
I'll tell you what, you have your little coughing session.
I'm clear.
I've just watched a film, which I didn't really care for. It's all negativity today.
I'm going to be honest, Chris. I'm surprised you watched it. Like, it doesn't sound.
I'm surprised I watched it too.
It doesn't seem like your thing. I'm like, when you put it, I was like, really? Like, I was just like, sometimes, you know, when someone says something, it's like, I don't know, what are you doing? That's what I was like, what?
Well, here's the thing. I wanted to watch something that's recently come out, that's Halloween related for the podcast. That's the only reason I watched it. Because I like to try and do a little bit of research, keep my finger on the pulse, as it were, or the undead pulse. Because Halloween, that was crap. try better jokes. Right. So I watched Hocus Pocus 2, purely for research for the podcast, which is something. If I'm watching something I'm not dodgy about, I can always say it's for the podcast. If I need to watch hentai for the podcast, then that's my excuse.
I'll watch it.
Yeah, I'll watch it. Yeah, I'm doing this. I need to watch a lot of Eki for research. Yeah, Hocus Pocus 2. So, let me give you a little bit of history. What?
I've not seen Hocus Pocus 1 either.
Neither. It doesn't appeal to me, to be honest. Everything I've seen of Hocus Pocus 1 just does not appeal to me. I think I'd only watch it if I had a girlfriend who literally sat me down and said, this is my favourite film, and I watch it every Halloween. You have to watch it with me. And I'd be like, alright, that's the only way I'd watch it.
And you won't go out for very long. Alright. Well, my history. I have seen the first one, and I've seen it a couple of times. Because the first one, in fact, came out in 1993. Yeah, so it's older than I thought it was.
Older than me.
So I'd have been 8 when it came out. So I don't think I've seen it straight away. I think it would have been out about a year or like Because back in my day, films took fucking ages to come out from cinema to like VHS. They took like 9 months to like a year. It took forever. So I probably watched it about a year after it came out. And I did see it a couple of times, and I thought it was fine at the time. I ended up seeing it a couple of times because this is before you had media on tap, so you just watch whatever's knocking around. I don't think I ever watched it by choice. It's always something my sister wanted to watch or something. So I ended up seeing it a couple of times because it's on the telly and it's something rather than nothing. So I've seen it a couple of times, but I remember it being fine. It has a weird obsession with like the child actors in it being a virgin because it's like a plot point, but they say it like 8,000 times. It's got a musical number in it, but it kind of works with it. It moves the plot along. They do a cover of the song "I Put a Spell on You," and yeah, it's fine. And we're probably going to get some flack for this because I know there's a lot of people who feel very strongly about this movie, and these films have a big fan base, and I don't think it matters how bad the sequel could have been. People would have loved it anyway because it's just Hocus Pocus, and they like the characters, and that's that. It's one of those. It's like the same people who like all the Disney reboots, even though they're absolute shite, but people still like them for some reason, which I'll never understand. But anyway, that's a topic for a different day.
Yeah.
Hocus Pocus 2. What are my honest thoughts? Honestly, it exists. It's certainly a cash grab. It's the laziest writing I've seen in a while. The characters are dull as dishwater. Everything happens because the plot says so. It's most of the films like an advert for a place that I'm not even going to mention the name of because I don't want to give them promotion. Like any more than the movie does. Even the end of the film, like the climax is sort of talking down to, and it's trying to make you feel sorry for the witches, but they're the bad guys. They're like meant to have eaten children. They're trying to make you feel sorry for them. It's like what's going on? It's like, why is this being written? I think it's pure fan service and nothing more. Because if you watch the first film, then you watch this one, and like specifically like the ending, sort of the exchange, you'd be like, why are they trying to make you sympathise for them? They've been the villains for 2 films. No. But they're like trying to make it like everyone has a happy ending. It's like, no, they eat children. The witches. They're not nice people. Don't feel sorry for them. I mean, I don't get what point they're trying to make. I know, looking at critics seem to say like, oh, it's enjoyable. It's like middle of the road. It's not captured the magic. And yeah, definitely. It really does smacks of like, oh, well, we haven't made a film in a while. We do like money, so let's just bang this out. I'm sure we've got a script for some other film somewhere that's on the cutting room floor. Let's just put Hocus Pocus on it and call it a day. That's what I feel like. I know I'm going to get hate for this. I don't care. I've got to speak how I feel, as we all do. We've got to be honest. Really didn't like this one. I don't think there's any surprise, really. I can't say I went in with high hopes, and they were not only not met, they were below what I was expecting. By far, it's just bad. I'm sorry, people who like this one. If you like it, fine, and you do you. I hope you're enjoying it, and I hope if they make a third one, you really like that too. But I've got to be honest, I just didn't like it. I know. I think a similar thing. I've never seen Rocky Horror Picture Show either. And I know people love that film, but I've never seen it. And when I do see snippets of it, I love Tim Curry, but this just isn't going to be my thing. I just know looking at it, it's not going to be for me. And I think if I do see it and I watch it and I think, yeah, I didn't like that, but I didn't think I'd do. I just get hate for it. But so I'm probably going to not see Rocky Horror just to avoid that situation. It might be great. It might be the best one I've ever seen. But if it's not, then I feel like I'm lining myself up for a firing squad.
I've not seen it either. All I know is Time Warp comes from that film. Yeah,
and I'm with Tim from Space on this. I fucking hate the Time Warp. Every time I hear it, it's like, yeah, it's probably going to be a good indication of I'm probably not going to like the rest of the film.
Well, tell me who I am.
You are Dan, and you don't have a monkey brain.
Okay.
I am Brandon, and I do have a monkey brain.
I watched Tell Me Who I Am on Netflix. This isn't a horror film, but I would say it is quite a disturbing. When you find out the truth of what has happened, it's quite disturbing. I'm not going to tell any of you, I'm not going to mention what actually you find out at the end, but I will tell you, I'll give the premise. And I really enjoyed this film. I'm probably never going to watch it again, because when I finished it, I bawled my eyes out. I cried so much over it. Shit.
What was that?
I coughed.
Oi, that's my job.
Oh my gosh, my voice. As soon as I spoken, my voice. Oh my gosh.
You've gone backwards in puberty.
Oh. maybe this wasn't the best section.
Are you recreating your goblin voice from D&D night?
No. I'm not.
You alright? Do you need a minute?
Oh my gosh. Sorry. I coughed and that didn't really work. So I watched Tell Me Who I Am. And this film is about two twin brothers. And
Four brothers.
No,
Four brothers.
Two brothers who are twins, identical twins.
Right.
And at the age of 18, one of them had a motorcycle accident, and afterwards he lost his entire memory. And it's, for I would say 75% of the film, it's talking about the motorcycle accident and the events after, and how this brother how he learned, how he moved forward not having his memory, which he never gets back, and where his other brother, he because of they're twins, he looks to his brother for all the answers. If you're a twin brother, why wouldn't you? And as the story goes on, as the film goes on, this is all a true story, by the way. This is all true. This is a documentary film. So it's all true, which makes it so much worse when you find out the truth that this is something that actually happened, because it has the actual brothers basically narrating the whole film. And so they have they talk about how after he loses his memory, how he's experiencing everything again. And it's in those bits, it's really wholesome, and it's quite nice. It's look at a picture and be like, oh, did we go on holiday in France? He's like, the other brother would be like, yeah, we did. We went on holiday in France. He'd be like, oh, what's this? Oh, it's a toaster. What's this? It's TV. Oh, you have a girlfriend here. He's like, oh, right. And it's stuff like that. And it's on those bits, it's quite wholesome and really nice. But then it goes into a few of the other things that happen in their life, I think their father is basically he's dying, and he calls the boys. Well, so they'll be in their 20s at this point in their lives. He calls the boys to his study, and he asks the brothers, to forgive him, and the one who's lost his memory goes, yeah, I forgive you. Whereas the other one is like, no, I'm not going to forgive you. And he walks out, and it's the other one who's lost his memory is like, well, why would you say that? What? And it's those other things where you can tell there's something that's happened that you're not sure about. And as it goes along, you find out that the brother who didn't lose his memory has lied for a reason to protect his brother who's lost his memory. And when you find out the truth, it's very harrowing. And as I said, when I finished the film, I bawled my eyes out. It's a really good film. I'll just say it is maybe be prepared for some dark subjects, but it is well worth a watch. Yeah,
interesting.
Because I don't want to spoil the end, but like I said, the fact that it's all true just makes it worse.
Well, I think me and Chris, we've also watched something horrific and also true at the same time, haven't we, Chris?
We certainly have.
About the serial killer Jeffrey Dahmer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. He was a very naughty boy.
He was a very naughty boy. But just in hindsight, I've only seen the first 2 episodes. But obviously, I ultimately know how it goes.
Yeah, I spoke over you. Sorry, Brandon. I was going to try and watch this, and I didn't. So I don't have anything to contribute.
Whereas I've seen the entire series. So between us,
we've seen the whole series.
Yeah.
So, do you want to go the premise, or shall I go with the premise?
You go nuts, mate.
Okay, so the premise is a troublesome young strapping lad called Jeffrey Dahmer. He was, growing up, he didn't grow up in basically the best of households. His parents were like constantly fighting. The father would say that the father would tell the husband, yeah. The father would tell the wife that she's basically delirious and that she's just basically chasing aliens, whereas the father was like, just settle down and get a real job. And then all the argument basically had a real like long-lasting impact on Dahmer when he was a kid, to the point where as he grew up, he became more and more sadistic, he showed like a real fascination with roadkill and anatomy and things like that. And growing up, finding out about his homosexuality, he was like sort of really confused in the fact that he was a homosexual during a time period where it wasn't really sort of it was culturally accepted. But in terms of the time point, Chris, was it set during AIDS or before or after?
You know what? I don't know the exact time. I know homosexuality was illegal in like the 70s.
If it was the 70s, then it'd be before AIDS, then, because that was like early 80s.
Live Aid was 1985, same year I was born. So
yeah, so Dahmer grew up in this world where he was confused into sexuality and had a real big appreciation for anatomy and the gruesome side of anatomy, to the point where he became a serial killer. So like he would drug fellow gay men and would take him back to his apartment to take, risk pictures of them and then kill them and consume them, basically, in a semi-cannibalistic sexual fantasy of his.
Yes. So, I'd say this is all true. With watching Netflix series, with anything, I take it with a pinch of salt, because you know how I like to romanticize things.
So there was a scene in it where Dahmer worked in a blood bank and basically consumed a pint of blood and basically showered it all over his body, whereas really what he said was he was curious and had a single drop of blood but immediately spat it back out. So just to give you an idea of just dramatization compared to real life. But yeah, anyway, carry on, Chris.
Well, I honestly, when it comes to shows like this, I don't tend to watch them. I have like zero interest, because I think people like this, history should just forget, quite likely not put any emphasis on them. These people are bad people. They shouldn't be remembered. People who do good things should go down in history, not people like this. But Evan Peters was cast in it. He's normally pretty good. It was all over social media for like a week or so, and people were saying it was good. So I bit the bullet and thought, go on and let's see what it's like. And honestly, I did enjoy the series, but obviously I don't like the story because it's true and what happened, and it's horrific.
It is horrific. Like the fact that he would basically, like in the old days where they'd say, "Oh, I've got a headache, doctor. Can you cure me?" "Yes, I'll just drill into your brain. That'll make you better." Like, that's literally what he did, but to zombify some of his victims.
Oh, give him a lobotomy.
Yeah, basically give him a lobotomy.
Yeah. So he could do weird things to them while they're still conscious before we kill them.
Seems so, doesn't it?
Yeah, he's not a very nice man. But the series itself does a bit to sort of flesh it out. Like, it's not overly violent. There is like some violent parts, but they're not like the emphasis. And
this is one thing which I found really confusing, because all over social media there was loads and loads of like posts saying, "Oh my god, this is like more gruesome than Saw. It's the most disturbing TV show ever created." This, that, and the other. I'm just like, no. I've seen more tits and gore and blood in Game of Thrones than I have this Jeffrey Dahmer thing.
Yeah, well, for the most part, the actual murders and that tend to just happen off screen. They're not emphasized on. There's more. What they've done to like flesh it out to like 10 episodes is they've put more emphasis on like the father character, as like his sentence is being carried out, because the time period during the series is like a mix between flashbacks to here and now and like the trial that's coming up. So it's got more emphasis on like his next door neighbours, who one of which is like a major player. So, cause, as I say, when I seen it, I thought 10 episodes. How do you stretch this out to like 10 episodes? It's like, especially because they're like an hour long each, give or take. It's like, are you just going to make up a load of scenes which just dramatise the hell out of it? But I don't think they did too much of that. Obviously, they're going to play it up a bit, and they can only speculate what happened between Dahmer and his victims, so some of that's going to be made up. But a lot of it does take place from the victim's point of view. It's like you get a sort of build-up as to that actual person and a bit of their life before they unfortunately met Mr. Dahmer. the series has done that to make you feel more sorry for them and to put a bit more weight behind his actions. Make Dahmer feel more like the monster that he was. Just so when he's on about doing these horrific things to these people, more. You've got like a character and a name to put to a face to put to a name when he's talking about it. Because a lot of crime stuff, like say, "Oh, you killed this person, that person, that person." They rattle off a list of names. They don't mean anything to you. No. It's like, well, to just like that happened off screen, or you did this. But it's trying to bring. Oh, how can I phrase it? It's trying to give you a bit more weight because, as I say, these were real people, and what happened to them was terrible and should not happen to anyone ever.
One thing they're doing is just promoting the fact that these horrific crimes, they are a real thing. They exist, and
that's the scariest thing.
That's the thing. It somewhat helps make people aware, because like in the first couple episodes, they showed that family next door, the fact that they could continuously smell this rotting flesh in the house, this chemical smell. The sounds, the things they could hear, but because Dahmer basically told them, no, it's okay. It's just some old pork which has gone bad because my fridge is broke. It's just sort of show like and get you to raise alarm bells and just say, look, if you do notice things which are off, tell someone, because it could be something which is happening. Because 1970s America, if you see shit going on, you're not going to go out your way to tell the police because it's just an inconvenience to you, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely. I do wonder what the actual families of the victims feel about a series like this. I've always felt like that when they do like these true crime things. It's like whether they take it in good stead or whether they were ever consulted within the making of that. Because I know at the end of this series, it does point out some real life things, like the real victims, like they've got photos and everything, like documentation.
They must have given permission to the families of the victims, because
you'd hope so.
It would be a really sort of shitty thing to be like, oh yeah, we've just put a picture of your decapitated, dead, eaten son on TV, but we didn't think to ask you for permission because we're Netflix, isn't it?
Yeah, I think that
they must have.
They've had a history doing stuff like that before, so I really, really hope so. But I'll give the series this. Evan Peters does a really good job.
Oh, he's done fantastic. The weird thing is, though, if you look at the picture of Evan Peters and then look at the original pictures of Dahmer, they look fucking similar.
Yeah, he's got
the casting for it is so good.
From what I understand, he's got the mannerisms and the creepiness down to a T.
Also, random bit of trivia. While I was off with COVID, I was rewatching Taskmaster, and I think it was from series 3 or 4, but one of the comedians did make a reference to Dahmer, and I was like, fuck, even 2016, 2017, they knew about Dahmer, and that's for 5 years even before the documentary was made. I'm just like, and I didn't even know Dahmer existed until basically this year. Because I reckon for the peasant folks like us, we don't know these things happen unless a story is brought to life in the form of either a documentary or a TV series. Because another one to remember is the Holly and Jessica one. The two girls who went missing in Cambridgeshire.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think they're working on another series to basically bring that back to life, about how it was a failure of basically services, and then finding out actually it was the janitor of the school which did it. So it's sort of highlighting where mistakes have been made and the improvements that have been made to sort of bring stuff like this to justice. But ultimately, any sort of big profile story is going to be made into a documentary, because I think
in Dahmer's case, in Dahmer's case, he's had plenty of documentation over the years. I think what hits home a little bit more is this was happening in the 80s. When was the trial? The trial was about 91, which is I was around and kicking. It's not like some of these serial killer things you go in the 70s. I know for people in our audience who are listening to this now, that's before a couple of decades before they were born. So but this was happening when I was around. The trial was 2 years before Hocus Pocus came out. So it just makes it hit home. This is more real than you think. This is going down when I was a nipper. And I think this was in the news. I remember seeing the snippets of this monster on TV when I was younger. Yeah. Oh, horrible world we live in sometimes.
It's shit, isn't it, sometimes?
It is. It's hard to be funny with a subject matter like this. You can't really make joke of this because it's real victims.
Well, I can tell you something which, on a lighter note, which is funny.
Go on.
So, you remember quite a few episodes back, I was saying that I was playing Digimon World Next Order.
Yes.
And it has driven me insane trying to get the platinum for this. So, at the time I came down with COVID, I was 80 hours into the game, and I was only just reached the end game of it. And then the last few trophies are just all grinding. So, for example, collect, every single Digimon card, or collect every single Digimon card, raise 200 out of the 230 possible Digimon, clear everything in the Colosseum, and so I tested positive for COVID, and then Monday to Friday I was off work. So I literally spent, as a full-time job while I was off with COVID, playing Digimon World Next Order and getting from 80 hours of gameplay to 126 hours of gameplay. And at that 126 hour, I finally got the platinum. It was a fucking job. Honestly, like playing games, they like Japanese games are so typical of this, but to get platinums for certain games, the end game just becomes an absolute grind fest. Like, maybe to finish the game, you only need 500 of a particular resource. However, if you want the platinum, you need to get 5 million of this. And you're just like, oh, fuck you. So literally for 46 hours, I was raising Digimon, killing them on purposes, all while trying to find the rest of the trading cards. And if I got lucky enough to get a really strong Digimon, I'd use them to clear the Colosseum. But certain Colosseum floors will have certain rules like, you can only use baby Digimon. You can only use water-type Digimon. You can only use electrical-type Digimon. So you've got really sort of like think about, for fuck's sake, I've got to make sure I've got this sort of Digimon here. I need to make sure they're high levels. I need to make sure I've got enough money. So I need to go farming for money to do this. They're now hungry. I need to go and make sure. Oh my God, it was such a job. It took even longer to get this platinum than it did for me to get the Dark Chronicle platinum. My God, was that a mission, and I will never ever. I mean, I'll play the game for fun, maybe, I don't know, once a year, like if I ever get round to it, because it's just one of those games where I'll happily just pick up, play it, maybe play till the last fight, and then put it down. But I am never going to trophy hunt that game again. That was just an awful experience for the end game. Absolutely awful. And it's fucking terrifying, the fact I actually did it for 126 hours.
I'm going to say that the spooky Halloweeny thing about this is that took you all that time. And life is fleeting, and time is precious, and this is what we're spending our time doing.
Literally, if I spent a whole month, 9 till 5, Monday to Friday, playing the game, it would take me a whole fucking month. I have just spent a whole month of my life playing a game for a platinum.
Wow.
That's terrifying, the fact I actually did that and enjoyed 50% of it.
Well, I think we need to find games that we can... that are shorter, that we can cut down on playing. And I was trying to work in the word saw from the word cut, but it didn't work. But anyway, chainsaws. There's a show involving that, isn't there?
Chainsaw Man.
So I watched this the day it came out.
I watched it last night.
Right now, episode 2 comes out tomorrow.
Ooh.
I watched episode 1. I sat in my room, put all the lights off, and I got invested. And what I've witnessed was, if every episode is as good as episode 1, this might be anime of the year.
I do a hot take down.
Yeah.
The art style was fucking amazing. The gore was amazing. The plot of the first episode is very similar to Jujutsu Kaisen.
Oh yeah, a bit, but it is completely different to Jujutsu Kaisen, and it's better.
Man with no power, who has to find a living, ends up being possessed by a demon and kills the first boss and gets recruited into a society to hunt other demons.
I would say he's not possessed by a demon. I would say, because unlike Jujutsu Kaisen, is it Yuji? Like, he is a bit possessed by the demon. The thing is, with Denji and Pachita, they are friends. Pachita gave up his life as a demon to make sure Denji stays alive.
Yeah, which is really, really cute. He's so cute.
I have a plushie of Pachita.
You're so cute.
My friend bought me him for Christmas, and then after she watched episode 1, she was like, "I wish I'd never given you that. I want one now." But I love I loved the first episode of Chainsaw Man. I have spoken about Chainsaw Man on this podcast before. All I'd say is, so far, with the only one episode, I know this is very. I feel like I'm a bit biased, but I just hope that it's as good. If every episode is as good as episode 1, this might be my favourite anime this year. And this year has been weak as fuck for anime. It really, really has. I can count on basically one hand really good anime from this year. And there's so much I've watched that's just been utter shite. But like, Spy Family's been really good. Cyberpunk Edge Runners has been really good, which I'll talk about next episode. Call of the Night's been really good. And Mob Psycho Season 3 has just started, and that's really good. Because it's Mob, because it's my favourite anime of all time. And Chainsaw Man is just adding to just being the top this year. Well, I've not started Bleach yet, because that's just started as well, and that's like soared to like number 1 on Mao at one point. I think it's gone. I think it has been lowered, but Chainsaw Man for now is like, if every episode is as good as episode 1, it will be my favourite thing, my favourite anime this year. And as I've said it on, I think I've said it on this podcast, and I said it to other people, it was literally my most anticipated thing this year, and episode 1 delivered so hard. The opening is amazing. It's got loads of movie references, so there's a bit where it's referencing Reservoir Dogs, it's referencing Pulp Fiction, it's referencing The Big Lebowski, and this is all in like a minute and a half of this. The 30 seconds I heard of the track initially, I wasn't really sold, but hearing the whole thing and seeing the visuals, it was so good. And every episode has a different ending song, so the first episode, the ending song was what I expected the opening to be, and it was like this heavy rocky metal song, and I was expecting like that for the opening, but I'm quite glad that the opening is what it is instead of what I thought it might be.
I'm glad the opening is what it is compared to what they did with Jujutsu Kaisen. Jujutsu Kaisen was just too bubbly for the actual dark undertones of the actual anime, whereas Chainsaw Man seems like it's a bit more edgier.
I disagree, but you know, I'm just really hoping every episode is as good as that first episode. Obviously, next episode we should be meeting. Well, we'll be meeting some of the other characters, so it'd be good to see
Devil Hunters.
Them. So I know who some of them will be, so I'm looking forward to seeing them on the screen. But yeah, I freaking love Chainsaw Man. One of my favourite mangas, and if every episode is as good as episode 1, I'm really looking forward to it.
When did you pick up the Chainsaw Man manga? Like, when did you start reading it?
In lockdown, like
long ago.
Early 2020. I should have, and I didn't. I should have read it day 1 it came out. I saw it on my manga website, and I skimmed read the first chapter, and I was like, that looks really cool. I need to read that, and then I didn't. And I'm in some ways, I'm kind of glad I got to binge read it like I did during lockdown in 2020. But the other part of me is like, I wish I read it week to week and just been like, yep, Chainsaw Man, fucking great. Like far earlier than I did. I knew as soon as I saw it, I was like, it looks interesting and I want to read it. And yeah, now I have. Well, it's still ongoing, so it's like not done. It's weird though, as someone who's actually read the whole manga, it's weird being like, now it's in part 2, and I'm like, I think like certain things, and it's quite depressing for people who don't know. It's like, this happens. That's like a bit shit, but I don't know. It's I say it's a bit shit. That's like, it's not me saying the manga's shit. Like, of an aspect of what happens, and it's a bit like, oh, that's a bit depressing. That's maybe what I should say. It's a bit depressing, but then at the same time, the manga it slaps. So I don't know. I can't wait to see the rest of the series. I just hope it's as good as episode 1. It's definitely a passion project for Studio Mappa.
Yeah, you can definitely tell, because like the actual background animations was top notch. You know, just like what you're seeing with Attack on Titan, just in terms of like attention to the actual environment and everything like that. I really do hope they keep it up, because it will be an absolute banger if they do. I just hope they don't do what other studios do, is, you know, overhype the first episode and then drop the quality to save on the rest of the money. Like, I really hope they don't.
I hope not, but I don't know.
I hope they do what Ufotable do, and it's just like, who cares about a budget?
We'll see what happens. But I even got hold of a few of my friends, or mine and Brandon's friends to watch Chainsaw Man on the day it came out, which they don't normally watch new anime on day release. But I think if anyone's seen me on social media, especially that day, you could tell I was excited, and I'm still excited for what's to come. I think the scene I'm so excited for, I don't think is going to be in season 1. So to see animated. So I'll be interested to see where they end this first season, because I'm not really sure. But I think I know a few sections that they'll go into, but I'm not completely sure where it's all going to end this first season. But yeah,
we can see.
Well then, before we wrap up, I think there's one little question I want to ask you, lads.
Yeah.
Okay. Seeing as we're still being spoopy, are there any horror games that you want to play that you haven't got around to yet?
Resident Evil.
I want to play all the Resident Evils because I've only ever played Resi 8. I've not and seen gameplay of 7. I've not touched any of the others.
I've only played Resi 4.
I mean, that was an easy call.
Yeah. What about you, Chris?
And go into horrors and see what there is.
Well, if I was being lazy, I'd say, I want to play the Resident Evil 8 DLC when that comes out next week.
Oh, I'm looking forward to that.
Oh yeah, I'm very much looking forward to that. I'm going to stream that day one, definitely for sure. I've already got it. Well, I'm trying to get it set up for pre-order, but no. There's one series. I don't know if either of you have played it. One called Forbidden Siren.
Never heard of it.
It's an old survival horror. I think it was on PS2. Where I think it's a little like Resident Evil, like with fixed camera angles and whatnot. But you use more stealth, and you play as several characters, and you can do a thing called sight jacking, where you can see through the enemy's vision to sort of avoid them.
Okay.
Yeah, it's one that's piqued my interest, but I just haven't got around to it. It's just looking at the screenshots, it looks like the kind of thing I've been to.
Yeah, it definitely looks like it would be right straight up your alley.
Yeah, but I suppose I'm also asking this question to our lovely listeners out there. What games horror related have you wanted to play that you've not got around to, or which ones have you played that you wish you hadn't got around to playing?
There's one which I really would like to play, and that's the Five Nights at Freddy's Security Breach, because that looks like a real nice sort of survival horror one. Yeah. Observation Duty, I want to play those because I'm just terrible at observation. I'm just looking through Steam at the moment, just on the horror list, see what there is that necessarily takes my fancy. But I mean, quite often, all the ones which Markiplier and Jacksepticeye and PewDiePie end up playing, most of the time, all the ones I see Markiplier playing, I'd love to give them a go and just shit myself. If I'm ever having a moment where I need a douse of Imodium or any sort of fiber, I would just play a horror game and just shit myself. That would clear me out if needs be.
You're sounding a bit bunged up now, so maybe you should try that.
I know, maybe I do need to play. One game which I would like to play, which I've never gotten around to, is the SCP game.
You know, I downloaded that ages ago, and I played it for 15 minutes, didn't get into it.
I know, it's one game where I feel like it would be really interesting to learn all about the different SCPs, but it just seems very, very busted. Yeah,
I think with stuff like that, if anyone doesn't know what SPC is, it's basically fan fiction. I don't think it holds the relevance.
It's a bunch of creepypastas, basically.
Yeah, I think it got a strong start because it did have some very good, very well made tales and entries. But I think as things go on, they dip in quality somewhat. Yeah. So SCPs, secure, contain, protect. So that's what it's short for. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, they're kind of like their own little horror anthology. It's
yeah.
Every entry is just a different creature, and it's got a sort of a threat level warning, containment procedures, that kind of thing. So, yeah, it's a fun novelty. Is SCP, but you gotta remember it's none of it's real. But they're all written they're factual documents, like you would at a zoo, I suppose. But
well, I think that's it for our Halloween episode. Well, as you all know, you can follow us on our social media: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Links are always in the description. Listen to us on Anchor, Spotify. Give us those 5-star reviews on Spotify. Give us whatever else. Follow us. Yeah, these two will be streaming on Twitch follow
Sure
them.
will.
Indeed.
In fact, the day this comes out, Halloween Day itself, I'll be doing a full playthrough of Amnesia Dark Descent. I may have said that in the last episode, but
I think you
I'll
did.
just said it again. I can't remember. Well, I've said it now.
It's your old age, mate.
Time is fleeting. I'm going to die. Happy Halloween, everyone! Ha ha ha. That one was very spooky, wasn't it?
It wasn't very spooky, no.
Quick, Brandon.
But if you want something really spooky, we have to wake up and go to work tomorrow.
I don't.
Yeah.
Well, of time recording, I don't. But when this comes out, I do.
Same thing.
Yeah, that's one last spooky thing is, got to wake up and go back to work.
Yeah, you got to work for a living.
I know, it's so terrifying.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my spooky thing for the end of the day is I'm now going to bed because I have to wake up and work to pay for a business who will end up making more money than what I earn.
Isn't that every business?
Not if you're a business owner.
Oh yeah, that's true. That's what I was like. Even today, I was like, screw it. I'm gonna. Actually, I'm not gonna mention that.
I don't know what you said anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say something, and I was like, actually, nah. But, the most horror thing in my life is that we still exist in these horrible times of many political things. But anyway,
Yes, but there is a light in the darkness, and that's this podcast.
All the candles
That's as good as it
to
gets.
use all the candles you have to use to illuminate your house when they do power outages between the hours of 4 to 7.
Well, my house is going to burn down soon. Although I could get some of those delightful Warhammer candles that were on about in the other episode.
Well, I just bought some battery-powered lights, so I think I'm going to win this.
Well,
yeah.
I'm sure you got plenty of battery.
And your
operating
Nintendo
things.
Switch, you don't need to charge that set up, do you? You can just charge it up and play it.
Yeah,
There you
until
go.
it runs out of juice.
I've outsmarted the system. I've got access to my Nintendo 64 on my Switch.
Yay, which will last about 3 or 4 hours before you need to recharge.
Actually, it lasts surprisingly well.
Yeah, mine's only about 4 hours,
Yeah, same.
but mine's
Well,
battery life. Woo, scary.
well, you'll hear us in 2 weeks. Be safe.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye, and also boo.
Boo.